Hey, and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Justin with homesofdaytonabeach.com. Are you thinking about buying a house in the Daytona Beach area and not quite sure what closing cost means when you're a buyer? Well, this video I'm going to kind of go over some of that, and of course if you have any other questions, leave a comment down below or you visit our website at homesofdaytonabeach.com. So what are closing costs? What that's simply referring to is all the additional money that you'll pay above and beyond the sale price of whatever property that you pick out. So as I go over these, some of them are going to apply if you're using a mortgage and other ones are going to apply if you're simply just paying cash. The first one I'm going to talk about is actually not technically a closing cost, but it's very important, and that's a home inspection. So most people, they're going to want to get one. Maybe they want a 4-point inspection. Maybe you want an all-encompassing home inspection. You're most likely going to be required to get a wind mitigation for insurance purposes, and you may even want to get a septic or a mold inspection depending on what you're buying and where you're buying it. The next thing you're going to pay for in your closing costs is going to be recording of the deed. Now this will apply whether you're paying cash or you're using a mortgage or some other way to pay for a property. You're going to want to make sure the county knows who owns it and how they own it, and this is going to cost money. Now let's say you are using a mortgage. You're also going to have to pay to record the mortgage and the note in the county as well. So this will be a different fee, and it's going to vary depending on the sale price of the house. If it's a bigger house, it's going to cost more money, or I'm sorry, if it's a bigger mortgage, it's going to cost more money. Not necessarily has anything to do with the price of the house. If you only finance half, you're only going to pay for half when it comes to that charge that goes into the county. This next one here is about title insurance. So depending on if you're using a mortgage or you're simply paying cash, you're going to still have to have title insurance. It is customary in our area that a seller does provide an owner's insurance policy should they ever get sued or somebody makes claim that they don't own the property and possibly somebody previously still owns the property. So that's what title insurance is, and the lender will require a borrower to also purchase title insurance again to protect the lending and the lending institution on the loan should anybody come back and make claim in the future. Now another closing cost that you will have is if you want to have a survey. Now if you're paying cash, there's nobody that requires you to get a survey, and depending on the property you may feel that's a good idea. And if you're paying cash, you're buying something in an HOA neighborhood that's maybe 5-6 years old and the seller has an older survey, you might say that, hey, that's fine, I don't necessarily want to purchase one. Now if you are using a mortgage, more often than not they are going to require you to get a new survey just to make sure that there's nothing built on the property or anything that's on the property built on someone else's property, and these typically in our area are going to cost somewhere in that $500 to $600 range. If you're buying a home in a homeowners association or in a condo association, you may have what's called a capital contribution, or there also might be application fees. So if you're saying, hey, I want to move over here in Venetian Bay, they may say you guys have to pay us, a percentage of the sale price or, a flat fee to join the HOA. And that's another closing cost that's going to be there whether you're paying cash or you're not paying cash. A smaller, lesser known and a lot of times overlooked is the municipal lien search. So the title company is going to check with the county or whoever's providing any type of utility, and just to make sure there's no old bills laying around for this property that may come back and bite you later on. And this is not a fee that's very expensive, but it is another closing cost that a buyer will incur. Up next is going to be the appraisal fee. So if you are using a lender, they're more than likely going to require an appraisal done on whatever property that you're purchasing. And they'll send somebody out, they'll make an evaluation and say, hey, here's what, here from a bank standpoint, here's what we feel it's worth. And that is a cost that is typically going to be passed on to the buyer. Now, when you purchase something, you're more than likely going to want to get insurance on the property to protect against fire or theft or hurricanes or whatever that may be. And that is always going to fall on the buyer to, whoever they go out and decide to go with. That bill is definitely going to come on the buyer side of the closing cost. So it's real important, and we're seeing a lot of issues with insurance right now, especially with roofing companies or not being able to get roofs, things like that. And a lot of that cost is getting passed on to the buyer. So that will also be another buyer's closing cost. Now just a few more that you're going to be aware of. So in this area, it is not required that you use a lawyer when purchasing a property. However, if you choose to have a lawyer review your contract, or if you have a lawyer involved in any way, On the buyer side, that is going to be a buyer's closing cost. It's something they're going to pay for. Then you're also going to have different loan expenses. So depending on what lender you choose, they're going to vary. Some of them may charge you from points. Some of them may have a fee to run your credit, and they're going to vary wildly. So when you're looking for that right lender, make sure you kind of ask, hey, what are your fees and things like that? And they should be able to tell you up front so you know. And then the last category we're going to talk about is other. And other can mean anything. A lot of stuff in Florida can be negotiated. So in a market that we've just went through in the last year or two, it wasn't uncommon for a buyer to say, hey, we're willing to pay some of the seller's closing cost, and then that would fall in the other category for a buyer. So when you're getting ready to purchase a property, make sure you ask up front, hey, what are some of these closing costs going to look like? Just to ensure that you know what you're paying for and you know that you can afford it. And again, if you have any questions, check the description below. We're going to leave a link to our blog that kind of covers this. Leave a comment if you need to know anything else. And of course, you can always reach us at homesofdaytonabeach.com.